What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Calin and I'm training to complete an Ironman by 2021. So every now and then I like to basically research how I can improve my training, and I want to see what kind of benefits I can get from a specific form of training. I've recently been watching The Vegan Cyclist, and particularly his Train Like a Pro series, and he mentions how he goes into most of his rides fasted, and he only starts introducing carbs when the intensity gets high enough. So that inspired me to look into how becoming less reliant on carbs and more fat adapted can help with these endurance events, like an Ironman. And so I'm going to teach you guys what I learned. So please leave a like, subscribe, and let's get right into it. So I just want to mention that I think carbs are king when it comes to fueling before or during a workout. But what happens if you don't fuel well enough, or your race is just 12 hours and your glycogen storages deplete? Well, that brings up the question of becoming fat adapted, or basically training your body to get better at using fat as fuel when you're low on glycogen. So one of the questions that I wanted answered from this is it even possible to exert yourself for these long durations while using fat as your primary fuel source? Because we've all ran out of energy, we've all bonked before, so is it possible to become immune from bonks? So one study tries to answer this question basically by measuring the time to exhaustion for both high intensity exercise or moderate intensity exercise. They studied two groups of cyclists. One was on a high fat diet and one was on a high carb diet. Let's get straight into the results. So the time to exhaustion for high intensity exercise was actually found to be the same for the high fat diet and the high carb diet. And they also found that the rate at which your muscles actually use glycogen was also the same. Now for the cool stuff. So for the moderate intensity exercise, they found that the time to exhaustion for the high fat group was 2 times higher than the high carb group. So they also found for the high fat diet group that carbs were actually spared during low and moderate intensity exercise, basically being saved for higher intensity stuff. So these moderate intensity results are what really interest me, because Ironman triathlons are usually done at a moderate intensity, especially for amateurs like me. So basically what I learned from this study is that there are some huge benefits to becoming fat adapted, especially for moderate intensity exercise, because it'll increase your resistance to fatigue. And when it comes to high intensity stuff, it doesn't really make a huge difference. All right, so now that we know that there are benefits to becoming fat adapted, let's try and answer the question that is, how can we train our bodies to become fat adapted? A method that I wanted to mention was the train low and race high approach, where you basically train on a low carb, high fat diet. And when it comes to your race, you do a regular carbohydrate load where you eat a bunch of carbs before your race, so that you can get benefits from both being fat adapted and having carbs in your system. So one study claims that this method will improve your ability to work at lower intensities at the expense of losing a bit of your maximal power. Lastly, since so many of you guys subscribed for my previous Maffetone videos, I wanted to mention that the primary goal for Maffetone training is actually to train your body to utilize fat as a fuel source. So the way that it does this is it makes you do all of your exercises at a heart rate that has maximal fat oxidation, which basically means you're using fat as fuel so that you can train it. All right, everyone, that's about it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys found some value from watching this video. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week for another video.